Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Bob Ycmat with Revere Health, and we're delighted to have you here at the FP&A Trends webinar. Like you, we're charged with helping our stakeholders better manage their performance and profitability. And I hope to share with you some of our own journey and insights and some of the things that we've learned. We have a rather large medical practice of about 400 clinicians, about 2,100 employees. We serve about 500,000 patients and render nearly 2 million procedures annually, and we generate over US 300 million in revenue every year. So years ago, we developed a system. It's a very sophisticated system which enables us to allocate revenues and expenses across multiple layers of our organization. The PA model that Monty reviewed has helped us refine the direct and also the indirect relationships between drivers and results. And it also helps us to determine the drivers of the drivers in our strategy. So revenue and expense drivers in healthcare, they're not often symmetrical. They're often asymmetrical. For example, some revenue drivers don't directly drive expenses, and also some expenses only indirectly result in revenue. Our system is based upon the allocation of shared revenues and shared expenses, in addition to accounting for direct revenue and direct expenses as you would traditionally expect. Our system enables our people and departments at every level to understand and manage their own performance and profitability. So let's go to the next slide, please. In this workflow that you see in front of you, this is the workflow that we employ in allocating both revenues and expenses. So you can see on the left-hand side where we have source data. Monty referred to it in his model as strategy formulation or inputs, where we have different sources of data, including clinical data, operations data, and finance data. And our team will then extract that data and manipulate it, whether it's through SQL or Excel or maybe a visualization analytics software package. We will then take, oftentimes in our strategy formulation, we'll have questions that will come up, and we will take and then analyze and build different models that have different sensitivity analysis or different weights for some of the different bases, and we'll develop some models in conjunction with our stakeholders. And from that modeling, then we will develop proposed rules of how we will then allocate particularly shared revenue or shared expenses. And then we will document those rules. Every documentation of every rule set then requires review and approval by various stakeholders, whether it's a small team of physicians or at the enterprise level, whether it's our governing bodies. So they will then review and approve those rules, and then once they've approved that, we will then program those rules into our automated systems, as well as then archiving them for later reference in the event that we need to go back and reconstruct a set of rules as they existed at that time. Once programmed, those automated systems enable us to generate a range of financial reports or operational reports, which are very helpful for our stakeholders to understand where they are in the performance of their systems. And what's unique about our system is that we actually generate over 800 P&Ls every month. And that P&L really provides us with a level of granularity that our operators are able to apply then in managing the profitability of their organization. Most of our revenue, for example, is fee for service, meaning that we're paid on a per procedure basis. We also receive capitation payments, meaning fixed fees, to provide a range of services to a patient population, irrespective of the procedure volume. And we also receive incentive payments for achieving certain quality goals. Fee for service is direct revenue, which is typically credited to the physicians or the clinicians who perform the procedures. Capitation and incentive payments are shared revenue, which must be allocated among those who actually contribute to generating that revenue. Physicians also incur direct expenses in their practices, but they also incur shared expenses, which must be allocated. And some of those shared expenses may be shared staff, shared campus and office space and equipment, or even corporate G&A. Expenses at every level must be allocated to lower levels, and understanding the drivers for each revenue or each category is vital to how we allocate them. And the PA model is, again, an excellent framework for helping us do this. We manage capital investments of $5,000 or more with return on investment, internal rate of return, and payback period analyses. And once each investment is approved and placed into service, the depreciation is then allocated to the appropriate cost centers. And as I had mentioned earlier, this system enables us to model and then automate the production of over 800 P&Ls across every level of Revere every month, and those P&Ls are used by managers and individuals to get the feedback on how they're actually performing, and it helps us create a culture of autonomy, entrepreneurship, and innovation. So let's go to the next slide, please. On this slide, you can see where we have different levels of our organization, and you can see where we have revenues as well as expenses. Just kind of walking through this, the first three layers, enterprise, specialty groups, and ancillary departments, those are enterprise-wide levels that we look at. And we do have system-level shared revenues as well as provider-level direct revenues. And then we have system-level shared expenses, in-campus and clinic-level shared expenses. The provider level also has direct expenses. And then you can see ancillary departments and then mid-level providers. Each of those levels actually have their own P&L, which net results are then allocated to the physicians. And the PA model has been excellent for having us just evaluate where in the system we have opportunities for improvement and clarification. Ultimately, all revenues and expenses flow to the physicians, as you see down on the bottom of the slide, in the form of net income, which is how our physicians are compensated. This system is very different from how most U.S. physicians are compensated. Our system ensures alignment and accountability at all levels while enhancing physician autonomy. And since all allocations must be approved by stakeholders, the PA model also helps us provides a framework for helping us in their review and approval of whatever the allocation model is. So managing profitability of a complex enterprise requires understanding of drivers and the drivers of drivers. The PA model is very, very helpful for us in this. Some of the recommendations that we have, having our own experiences and then being able to apply the framework that Monty and PACE has provided, helps us. So one is we identify direct and indirect drivers using the PA model. And those indirect drivers may be upstream, for example, drivers. Determine which individuals and teams control those drivers. And then we develop a feedback mechanism or a reporting mechanism which enables individuals and teams to manage their own performance and profitability. And we provide that feedback to them on a monthly basis so they can see how their activity is actually affecting the performance and profitability of their scope of responsibility. And then finally, we align incentives across the enterprise based upon individual and collective performance. So that way individuals can see their own or as a team. And then one of the things that we'll have an opportunity to talk about here is leveraging technology to automate and shorten that feedback loop. Our experience is that change management is more effective when it's driven from the bottom up rather than from the top down.